Hello, everyone. Welcome to Derrick with a Chance of Podcast. My name is Derrick, and this is my associate, Big Ear Billy. How are you doing today, my large appendage friend?
I'm doing good. My ears are big as always, and I'm ready to talk about some movies.
Yeah, no, we have a great episode. We are talking about franchises, best franchises, not necessarily the number ones, maybe not even top five, and maybe not even our favorites, but we are just talking about some franchises that we love.
I got two really good ones. Derek also has two really good ones, so four in total that we recommend you guys go out and watch if you haven't seen them already. Some of these have just a handful of movies. Some have double digits. So some are sit down, some are marathons, but others are going to be kind of easy watches. And like I said, everything we mentioned today, we recommend you go out and watch as soon as you can. All are going to be great movies.
Yeah, we want to make a few stipulations. So we it had to be over three movies, more than a trilogy, and then we also wanted to stay away from some of the obvious big fellas like of course Marvel or anything that we thought maybe talked about too much. So some of these I know especially one of them is going to be one that you would probably never be heard talked about on a movie podcast. Others, of course, that you're going to know and you're going to enjoy. But I'll kick it off first with my first franchise. The first franchise that I wanted to talk about is Pirates of the Caribbean, a fantastic franchise with right now, I believe they have, I just had it pulled up here. I think it's five movies, three, four. Yes, five movies. Planning on a sixth. They did have an all-female cast one in the works. Don't know if that's still going. But as far as the five that they have out right now, the first three are absolutely fantastic. One of my favorites of all time. As far as acting, performances, CGI, storytelling, it is one of the best. If I had to just do trilogies and did those first three, that would probably be close to the top for me, just because they stay so consistent throughout and how good they are. You have, of course, the all famous Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow, and you have some things that people. I mean, they compare the CGI from that movie to movies that come out today. Of course, the famous Davy Jones and how his face looked. A lot of movies whenever you see CGI, something like that, you get taken out of the movie just because, it's either unrealistic or it's not something you see. But when you see Davy Jones enter on the Flying Dutchman, you feel a little bit of terror in your seat just by looking at it. You know, it's an octopus face, and you would think, oh, okay, that's not going to be very realistic. You look at it and you think, hey, I'm scared of Davy Jones. You're not taken out of anything, you're thrown more into the movie. I really like that about it. Um, and overall, I think it is one of the franchises that, yes, the quality has gone down after the third movie, but I don't think that it is had a terrible move, like just an absolute stinker. I will wait until the sixth one come out before I say definitely, but I think as of right now, they still have some good ones. Chance, what are your thoughts on Pirates of the Caribbean?
I'm glad you mentioned the visual effects in Davy Jones because when I was picking my franchises, I looked at movies that are timeless. I think that's when you're picking a favorite franchise, when you're picking a best franchise, it has to be timeless. And how you be timeless is by having state of the art effects.
Hmm.
Having stuff that in 10, 20 years is still going to look good, and that's what Pirates of the Caribbean does. We haven't seen a new movie in a while, but like you said, like movies that came out, a decade ago or nearly a decade ago are being compared to movies that come out today. And Pirates of the Caribbean is looks better than a lot of the movies coming out today. Like the visual effects were absolutely groundbreaking, and they stand the test of time, and they will stand the test of time for a long time. Meaning that it's a franchise that is going to be around for a long time. And speaking of being around for a long time, speaking of the sixth movie, my first question for you about this franchise: do you think that there is a future without Jack Sparrow? If we get maybe a Barbosa movie, if we get an Elizabeth Swan movie, do you think that's something that can kind of carry the franchise into maybe a new trilogy, a new quadrilogy, a new set of movies? Is the Pirates of the Caribbean something that can exist without Jack Sparrow?
It's a great question. So when we were talking about franchises and I decided on Pirates of the Caribbean, one thought that I had is how hard it is to do a good movie about pirates because you don't really see any of it. Like
Mm-hmm.
outside of Pirates of the Caribbean, it's hard to think of a pirate movie, because honestly, at the moment, I can't think of any besides the SpongeBob movie, but I don't think that counts.
VeggieTales has a really good pirate movie.
Details may have one, but like, it's really hard to do that. I don't know whether it's the time period, the subject of the movie, but Pirates does it, and it does it very well. One of the things that they do really well is the character development and how people fell in love with Jack Sparrow, because he is hilarious, he's witty, he's exactly, I mean, he's everything that you see. There's no like deeper meaning behind Jack. Of course, there's some character development and how he grows, but really, Jack's just a pirate. Whether he's good or lucky, it's hard to say. He's just, I mean, he is the pirate. So to take him out of the franchise and try to continue it, I think it's going to be really hard, because I think they'll probably do one of two things: by either trying to replicate it and giving, another character trying to have that ability to be loved by everyone, but I don't think they're going to be able to, have lightning strike twice. So hopefully they will take it in another direction and not try to like ruin the franchise, which I think is a very high probability. Um, Looking at the movies overall, I really don't think they'll do anything better than they did with Dead Man's Chest. That is 100% my favorite of the franchise. I was deciding beforehand which one would be my favorite, and it's really hard to choose between the first three. Because, like I said, the movie stays pretty consistent throughout the three. And I think just looking at it overall, you get much more Davy Jones in the second one, which is Dead Man's Chest. The third one gets a little crazy, having him and Davy Jones' locker, and then you have the five councils of pirates, or the five pirate warlords, whatever that is, and Elizabeth Swann becomes the pirate of the king of pirates. It gets a little wacky. So I took out the third one. The first and second is really hard, but personally, I think the second one is my favorite. Do you have a favorite when it comes to the pirates?
I like the first one. It's a classic. Just that introduction to Jack Sparrow. And I to kind of answer my question from earlier, I don't really see a future without Jack Sparrow. He was
Hmm.
the lifeblood of that franchise, and maybe you can have something going with maybe you could do a prequel for Barbossa. Maybe you could do something with Elizabeth Swann, but I don't think you're ever going to be able to grab the essence and just the charisma and just the on screen, um, just captivity cap just the way that Jack Sparrow was able to steal every single scene he was
Literal
in.
lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, he
Lightning.
every single scene he was in, he absolutely stole the show. He was the reason you watch those movies, and I don't know if you can have that series without him. But we'll see what they do.
Yeah, for sure. Um, as far as the franchise, the worst movie, I tried to pick, I think for all these, we tried to pick a favorite and a least favorite. My least favorite when it comes to Pirates, honestly, it's a toss up between the fourth and the fifth, because they do take a dramatic step down. Uh, Fifth one gets pretty crazy. It does have some good performances by Javier Bardem, who is one of my favorite actors, but overall, I mean, it's a toss up between them. I think, honestly, Dead Men Tell No Tales, the most recent installment, is its least strongest. It's definitely a few notches down, not even close to the first three. The fourth, talking about the Fountain of Youth, Stranger Tides is what the movie's called. It really banks off Jack Sparrow. I will say that fourth movie, that is Johnny Depp carrying that movie, because I think you take him out of that one, and that's just a stinker. That one's not making any of its money back. But I will say, good movies overall. I think they are better than your first movies that we're going to talk about in your franchise that's up next.
Well, the two I want to talk about are vastly different. The first
Mhm.
is very similar to Pirates of the Caribbean. It is what I think is groundbreaking in the terms of effects, timelessness, and that is the Planet of the Apes franchise. More specifically, the newer movies. We just got the fourth movie with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. But really, all the Planet of the Apes movies are incredible, and especially this new kind of reboot, absolutely groundbreaking in the terms of visual effects, much like Pirates of the Caribbean, and just the way that motion capture was used. And
Mhm.
some of the most lifelike animals, on screen. Just you wouldn't think like apes, monkeys would be able to emote like this, but just the ability of the visual effects department and the motion capture department and Andy Serkis as Caesar. It was a performance that absolutely blew me away, and I think rivals even his performance as Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Like Caesar is an incredible character, and his growth throughout the movies is something that you should be in awe in as you watch kind of the hero's journey, and the things he has to go up against, and the friends he makes along the way, the other apes, the other monkeys are also personable and so likable. It truly is just such a great adventure to go on with Caesar, and a great franchise to watch.
Hmm. So to put this in perspective, I have not seen any of these movies. Of course, I've seen clips, but honestly, I have no real. I should have watched them beforehand, but I have no idea of what the plot is behind any of these movies. From like little clips seen, I think I kind of have a little bit of what the first movie is about, but after that, I just think it gets wild. When I saw the trailer for the fourth movie, I thought, what on earth happened between in movies 2 and 3 that could have led to this? Because honestly, like I just can't see any of the plot working. But apparently, of course, it's really good. Everybody likes it. I'm glad you mentioned Andy Serkis. He plays Gollum as well as.
Yeah,
Caesar,
Caesar.
right? Caesar
Hmm.
the monkey, and then he does one other work that's very popular for his mocap. But I mean, he is probably the best actor when it comes to that kind of acting because it's really
Hmm.
hard to do in that you can't see, the scene. You don't really know what's going on. You're having to be a character that one isn't human, so I mean, you're kind of having to come up with what would that monkey or hobbit would do if they were put in this situation. I think he's a very great actor and probably underrated in most circles just because he doesn't have the most recognizable face. Um, as far as these movies goes, I can't rank them. I can't put a favorite or least favorite. I haven't seen them, but I have seen this clip. I want to ask you about it, Chance. It is a scene that I think is notorious in the first one. That is kind of a big deal when a monkey just looks up at what I thought was James Franco, but you've told me it's not James Franco. It's Draco Malfoy.
Yeah, Tom Felton.
Tom Felton,
James
yes, and
Franco is Caesar's daddy.
yeah, and who knows how that works? But he looks up at him and he just says, "No," and
Such a
I don't know
powerful
why.
scene. It's
It
it's
is.
a powerful scene. It's incredible. The first time Caesar speaks, and it's in defiance.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I mean, real from of course, I don't even know this, but to me, it seems like it kicks off a franchise because when I look at it and I see that scene, I mean, I get chills, and I have no idea what led up to it or like what even started it. I just see that scene, I'm like, wow, that monkey means business.
Hmm. And from there, it's kind of a snowball. I mean, you said you were watching the trailer for the newest movie, and you're kind of like, "What is going on?" Like, the monkeys take over the world, and it starts with that scene. The monkeys rule the world, and humans are, trying to fight their way back up, but they can't match these monkeys, man. The monkeys are wild. The monkeys are cool. And it all
So,
starts from that scene. I mean, Caesar, with one word, raises an army, really.
so here's a question for you, and we've talked about this concept multiple times with Fast and Furious and with there's one other franchise we talked about. But do you think, and I only think this because I've only seen that scene from the first movie, and then I've seen the trailer for the fourth movie. Do you think it'll get too crazy? Do you think it will end up either ruining the franchise, or do you like the direction that's going?
I like the direction it's going because I think I think if you take the humans out completely, you still have a really good story to tell. And
Mm.
that's what kind of some movies don't really understand. They kind of think there needs to be this kind of alien relationship in a way where you have the monkeys versus the humans, you have the humans versus the aliens, you have the humans versus the kaiju. There has to be that human connection, but in a beautiful way, like monkeys are so human like, you already have that. And especially while watching Caesar kind of grow throughout these movies, and watching the other monkeys by his side grow with him, we have formed connections to Caesar. I don't think we really need the humans anymore. I mean, we have that human connection with a monkey. So if you take the humans out completely and you do kind of just maybe these Caesar and the rest of his
Mhm.
squad, whatever you want to call it, maybe just trying to settle down somewhere. And maybe another monkey wants to do something else, and you kind of redo the first movie with Koba, and you kind of have that antagonistic force. I think it could work. I think this is a franchise because it's based on motion capture and not people performances. Obviously, you
Mhm.
have Andy Serkis behind that, but when you, I think this franchise could go on forever.
Really?
Because while Andy Serkis is important to that role, it's more the motion capture.
Yeah.
And you could have Caesar live for as long as he needs to. And I think the
Yeah.
directors and the script writers are smart enough not to do that and to have a conclusion at some point. But
Mhm.
I think the direction the series is going is sustainable for a very long time.
Yeah, I think you make a great point about having kind of that human connection. We talked about it in our last episode about how, with a lot of these monster movies, they kind of ruin it by messing up the human connection and, what they do right in some movies over others. But in a very recent movie that I watched, Godzilla Minus One,
Hmm.
I just want to say that the human connection in that movie, take out the monster of it, and it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Like him coming back from war, PTSD for being a kamikaze pilot, and then when spoiler alert, when he loses I think her name's Nikiro,
Hmm.
broke me. I was like, holy cow, this poor guy has gone through so much. And I mean, I think it's right to have like a truly great movie in that sense, because we both agree that probably both these movies are great.
Hmm.
That if you take out one, you still have a good movie. You
Yeah.
take out the other, you still have a good movie.
Hmm.
So I kind of like that about both of them. That regardless of you know which aspect you look at, the human or monster slash monkey, depending on which one you're watching, that it's still a good movie. So out of those four, I guess four now, but you said you haven't seen the fourth. What is your favorite and your least favorite?
It's such a hard question because I think all the movies are fantastic. There's only four at the time. I would say War for the Planet of the Apes is probably my favorite. And as much as I like
Which
it, as
is
much as it,
is that third installment, second,
that would be the third. I believe it's
third? Okay,
Rise,
and then
Kingdom,
Dawn.
then War. I I believe
I think it's Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes,
it
and
is.
then yeah,
The latest one's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
yeah, latest one's
Yeah, it's
Kingdom. Yeah,
Rise, then Dawn, then War. I think War is my favorite, and I think my least favorite, for as good as it is, even kicking off the franchise, I think my least favorite probably is Rise, the Planet of the Apes. Even though all of them are fantastic, and you should watch all of them.
gotcha. Okay, very rare for a franchise to get better as it goes on, but moving on from this franchise, we will move on to Chance, your second franchise. I didn't think we should end it on this franchise, so I'm
We
gonna let
should
you
we
go
should
ahead and
have. I mean, I think the people watching at home will agree that this deserves to be on every single best franchise list. It is incredible, it is versatile, it is meaningful, it is relatable, and that is The Muppets.
yeah, send it
The
home.
Muppets
Send it home.
franchise is the greatest franchise of all time, and that is a
All right,
fact. I
you
mean,
tell
every
them.
single movie is a classic, and every single movie is unique. It's not this kind of long story you got to keep up with. It's not 15 movies you got to watch in chronological order on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You could watch any movie whenever you want, and every single one is going to deliver laughs, and it's going to deliver sadness, and it's going to deliver relatability, and it's going to deliver something that you've never seen before. And these characters, from Kermit to Swedish Chef to Animal, are all unique and all likable, and you see yourself in these characters, and that's what's so special about the Muppets movie.
Let's just think that for our first episode, Chance surfs up favorite movie of all time, best movie of all time, in his opinion, and now best franchise, as he has claimed, is The Muppets.
And I mean, hey, I don't think anyone's going to disagree with me. I think
Yeah, I
everybody
think there
watching at
will be a lot
home,
of people
I
that
don't think I
disagree.
think everyone's going to agree with me. Everyone watching at home agrees that Muppets is the greatest franchise of all time.
Okay, so looking at the Muppet, and this is really just what pulls the first thing online. There are 13 movies that come up, and for some reason, like three of them are Christmas movies, which I think is strange. But 13 movies, okay, and I have only seen two of them, and really, I would say one and a half. I have seen the original, like the 1979 Muppets movie. That one I think is that one should go in a museum. That one is actually gold. It has a very like Monty Python feel with the comedy, and to this day, I was telling him beforehand, one of my favorite scenes of all film, not just the Muppets, is where they're trying to figure out where to go. He's like, take a left at the fork in the road. And he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. I don't even remember, but I just remember once the camera pans out, there is a ginormous fork, like just sticking in the road. And I don't know why that's cracked me up. And I have thought about it every day for the last 10 years since I saw it for the first time.
The Muppets are comedic geniuses. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I mean, every single movie has that kind of humor, that comedic humor, and it's great.
I don't know the old men's names, but they were some of my favorite.
Hmm.
They just like wisecrack. They have a skit with Key and Peele. It's like Key and Peele, and then the two old men from the Muppet, and it is one of the funniest things. I think it's on SNL. I don't even remember where I
Hmm.
saw the scene, but they do have a scene together somewhere, and it is actually hilarious. So I do agree they are funny. With all these movies, though, the Muppets are kind of an outlier when I say too, because the form in which they tell movies is, I mean, they're literally puppets. Okay, it is a outdated mode of entertainment. Okay, so why is it sticking around? Why? Let's say the most recent one was made in 2014, Muppets Most Wanted, and that
That's a
is
good one.
close to 30. That is 35 years after the original. So tell me, why are the Muppets sticking around? Because I mean, there's nothing else like it that I can think of at this very moment.
It's the same reason, we talked about Pirates of the Caribbean and we talked about Planet of the Apes. It's timelessness, especially for these characters. I mean, they're not. I mean, you say they're puppets. I mean, they're real people. I mean, come on now, what are we doing? But they're people that were part of our childhood, and they stayed part of our lives as we grew up. So it's only natural that we want to share that with other people or our kids, because it's a great, much like what we were talking in the last episode, much like shows like SpongeBob, shows like Danny Phantom, shows like Ben 10, those kind of cartoons you watch as a kid, Avatar: The Last Airbender, shows like that, where it's great for all ages. And when that's the case, it carries with you throughout your entire life, because you can always go back to it. You can always show somebody. It's very easy to get into. And the Muppets are the same way. They kind of have that staying power. They have that timelessness. They have that relationship with you. So it's very easy for them to kind of live forever in a way,
Hmm.
as more generations are shown to them. And I think, and like kind of like you said, like the comedy doesn't change. I mean, you have writers come and go. You have actors for the puppets come and go, but the comedy stays the same. And that's something that people can latch onto, and that's familiarity, that's comforting to go back to. So seeing these characters again and again in all these different movies, it's nostalgic, it's comforting, it's like seeing an old friend, and I think that's why it's lasted this long.
Well, before okay, I mean, it's a very good question. I would, or it's a very good answer. I do think the Muppets are kind of timeless. All the characters, there's so many of them. You'll always find one that you kind of either relate with, you think's funny, fun to laugh with, whatever. I kind of want to change the question up and this is not my second question. This is just one that I kind of want to throw in. Is that looking at your favorite Muppets movie? Okay, there are 13 to choose from, so you have a wide selection here. One, what is your favorite? And do you have a favorite Muppets moment? Of course, mine is I have two. One of them being the fork in the road. I think that's hilarious. Do you have like a favorite moment, or just maybe in just a character that sticks out to you? That's like either, hey, that's my childhood, or this is something that I think about constantly. That's hilarious.
The one that sticks out to me the most, and it's not the most iconic, but it's the most quotable for me. It's something that I say a lot, and it just cracks me up every time I think about it.
I'm so
In
scared.
in the Muppets movie with Jason Segel, where he has a brother, he has a Muppet for a brother.
Mhm.
Classic dilemma: am I a man or am I a Muppet? It's
Happens
something
all
that's
the
stuck
time.
with me for a long time. Am I a man or am I a Muppet? I guess we'll never know. But the most kind of iconic my favorite moment from that movie is when we kind of get a peek behind the curtain on our evil villain. He's talking with Sam the Eagle, and they're plotting some bad stuff. These are bad guys,
Hmm.
and they're doing some evil stuff. And at the end of their evil plan, he says, "Maniacal laugh, maniacal laugh, maniacal laugh," and that cracked me up. And it's stuck with me ever since. And I say it all the time now in my daily life. I don't even laugh anymore. I just go, maniacal laugh, maniacal laugh, because it's so funny to me. And
I have
I mean,
never seen this, by the way.
that's the comedy you get from the Muppets movie. It's something you never expect, but every single time it's hilarious.
Okay, that was good. I actually didn't think I would find something maniacal laugh is hilarious. The only part that I've seen from that is, of course, I've seen the ballad of "Am I a Man or Am I a
Yeah,
Muppet,"
a
which
beautiful,
is
beautiful piece deserves to be in a museum.
that is perfection. That is actually such one. It's a great song too. It's just I love Jason Segel. No, it's not Seagal. It's Siegel. Is a Siegel. Um, and then I also love Amy Adams, who's in it. One of the
Mm-hmm.
movies I have wanted to see that I have not is Muppet Treasure Island. Have you seen that
Mm,
one?
that's a good one.
Have you seen it?
Oh yeah.
I have, I have not seen that one, but just from like looking at it, it seems like it would be something that I would want to see. That kind of
I
has
believe
some.
most wanted. Um, there's a really good scene where
Yeah, that's the most recent one. Yeah.
yeah, there's a really good scene where they're in a I can't remember who's being interrogated. I think it's Kermit. Someone's being interrogated, and it's like good cop, bad cop, but they're singing a song, and that song's very
I think
good. That song,
I think I've seen this
it's
before.
very it deserves to be in a museum, much like Man or Am I a Man or Am I a Muppet? It's a
Mhm.
classic. But the Muppets movies, go watch them. Greatest franchise out there. You'll find a movie that you'll absolutely love, and you'll find a character that you actually absolutely love. My favorite Muppet is probably Animal or
Oh, that's a
Fozzie
good
Bear.
one.
Those I go back and forth. But it's probably on more days than not. I'm an Animal guy.
The I do like Fozzie Bear. I think I'm gonna stick with the two old men, and I'll tell you why in a second. But honorable mention, I love. There used to be this meme of Bert and Ernie,
Hmm.
and holy cow, it used to crack me up all the time. It's like a very bad meme. It's like one of Bert and Ernie doing something. And it'll say like Bert dropping the atomic bomb on Hiroshima.
I've
It'd
seen
be like
that one.
it'd be like Ernie's face. He's like, that used to always crack me up. So I did have a little like Bert and Ernie phase for a bit, but I
Hmm.
think my favorite is gonna be the two old men. I really can't. I really don't know if they have names. I could probably look, but it reminds me of a SNL skit with Bill Hader.
Hmm.
Have you seen the skit where he does the puppet?
Yeah.
He goes to like a PTA,
Yeah,
or
he's
no,
like,
it's just like a Muppet class or a ventriloquist class, and they're trying to teach him how to
it's like
talk.
a
And
therapy
then
class, and
is it?
they had to make a puppet for him, and his puppet like has PTSD like he does, and his
Well,
friend
there's
got blown
a
up in Grenada or something.
I think they've done like multiple ones of it, and one of them he just goes to like a regular ventriloquist guys, and one of the puppets like, I like pie, and then his is like, would you like it if there's a grenade in it? So it cracks me up every time. But that's what the old men remind me of. But I mean, they are pretty funny. I do like the Muppets movie. There's also great moments in it. I think it opened up is like kind of the opening scene for the first movie where it does "Over the Rainbow." I
Hmm.
think that's the song that he's singing. But I remember in music class when I was a kid, we used to have to watch that, and we were listening to the song specifically. That's actually the place that I watched this movie, and it's probably the last time I watched the movie, so it's been quite a while. Um, do you have anything else you want to say on the Muppets before we? Wait. There, I have a second question about the Muppets. Who
What do you
knew? We're going to
got?
talk about the Muppets the longest. My second question to you is: it has been 10 years, and honestly, it may not be that long because I don't see the Muppet Babies on here on this list, but. It has been 10 years since there has been a Muppets movie. Most Wanted came out in 2014. Are the Muppets dead?
Never, never. The Muppets live on. It's only a matter of time. I believe the script writers are in some cave somewhere, shut off from the rest of society until they write the masterpiece, and they're not coming out till it's done. And if it takes 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, hey, it's time that they need to cook up something beautiful, and they can take all the time they need. But when they come back, it's gonna be with it's gonna be fire. It's gonna be hot. It's gonna be probably the best movie of the year, and we're just waiting for it to happen.
All right, so let me throw some trivia at you since we're here. I just happened to pull this up. Now, looking at Muppets Most Wanted, come out in 2014, a budget of $50 million. Now, tell me, is this a box office success or a flop, and by how much? As your first question.
You know, in the terms of the movie world, 50 million isn't really that much. And something as recognizable as the Muppets,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say it was a success,
Okay. By how much?
but not by much. I'm gonna say
Not by much.
it made 100 million, so 50 million profit.
So I wouldn't call that necessarily. I guess it depends on how you're looking at it. It's like a loss ratio type thing. I mean, it is twice as much as the budget, but honestly, 50 million, I wouldn't consider that a success. But you are not too far off. It is a $80 million it made in the box office.
That's not
So
bad. That's not bad.
it's not the worst. I would say that they could do better. Now let's talk about your favorite of the franchise, the Muppets 2011. Uh, $45 million budget, so less of a budget. Success or failure?
Oh, easy success. That thing probably made $1 billion. That's what it deserved to make. And
Billion.
I'm putting my foot down. I'm saying that was $1 billion movie because that's what it deserved.
It is 165 million, which I was actually kind of shocked. I did not
Hey, that's
think
good
that
though.
a
That's good
Muppet
though.
movie could.
That's good. That's killing it.
That is killing. That is a roughly 4 times what you paid for.
Yeah, it just needs a
Roughly.
little bit more to get to $1 billion. I'm sure it'll get that in streaming.
Now, looking at my favorite, the Muppets movie from 1979, I think this one is really interesting. $8 million budget, so not anything compared to today's standards. Who knows what that is in 1979? Probably a ton. How much do you think they made at box office in the 1979
Ooh,
movie?
1979.
That's a hard one to peg.
I'm gonna say it made 200 million.
I will tell you, you are nowhere close.
Probably $1
Not
billion.
close.
Probably.
Not a billion. 65 million. So
That
honestly, it was
pretty
not
close. That was close.
I, I mean, it kind of depends on how you look at it. It's like probably like 7 or 8 times more than
Yeah,
what it cost to make. So I don't know. Probably a success by that time, but I don't know the standards of 1979 movies. So
I'd say that's
I wonder
pretty
how
good.
much, I wonder how much Rocky
That's
made.
probably $1 billion compared to today.
Okay. I'm just gonna. We're taking a quick detour. Okay, Rocky came out in 1976, and Rocky made 225 million, but it also had $1 million budget. That is interesting. Okay, I'm way off the wagon here. Oh wait, $1 million budgets? No, that's like an eighth of what the Muppets movie was. So Rocky smashes the Muppet. I should have put Rocky. That would have been a great franchise to choose.
I do. I was thinking about it because I really like the new Creed movies.
If I would have thought of it, I would have done Rocky over what was my first Pirates of the Caribbean. But
Interesting.
I will say Rocky, it is my favorite movies. I have a Rocky poster right over there. And I'm just saying, I don't see any Muppets posters around here. But anyways, going to the franchises that I did choose, my second franchise is Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise. Some would call him the shortest man in action. He is amazing in these films. He has pushed out 7 movies that are fantastic. There's only one stinker. I'll live by it. I'll talk about it in a minute. But Mission Impossible about Agent Ethan Hunt, who works for the MIA. I think is that the name of it? Is that right? MIA? I feel like IF,
Mission Impossible Administration. Is that it?
IMF, Impossible Mission Force. That's what it is.
Makes
All right,
sense.
and is through all the movies, they're not chronological. Each one is about a different mission, and they are fantastic. Every single one is worth watching. The best, in my opinion, is Rogue Nation. I will probably be the only one that says that, just because the other two, not because this one is debatable that's not good, it's because the other two after it are so good. And people say they're better than Rogue Nation. But Rogue Nation is my favorite, which is the fifth installment. And if you have not seen the most recent film, which Chance has not, it is, or sorry, Big Ear Billy, the Dead Reckoning is so good. It is going to be amazing. I don't know how Tom Cruise has made it this long making such good movies. I think it has something to do with the Church of Scientology, but these are fantastic movies. The stunts that they do are fantastic. Of course, if you were alive and had a screen in front of you, you saw the new stunt he was doing for this new movie, because it was the most advertised stunt in the universe. And the action is very good in it when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, especially in Rogue Nation. That's probably why it's one of my favorites. And also, the cinematography is amazing, especially in your favorite, which you are welcome to disclose now.
My favorite is Mission Impossible Fallout. I think that's a
Mm.
classic one. I think it's the best. I think the third act kind of goes a little bit off the rails, but I think everything
Maybe a
before that
little.
holds up, and I think it's a great watch. And Henry Cavill is fantastic in that movie.
Okay, wait.
Are you thinking of
I
a different
maybe
one?
no. I think I'm thinking of the same one. For some reason I was thinking Henry Cavill was in
He's in Fallout.
Rogue Nation.
No, he's
He
in
must be.
Fallout.
He's in Fallout. Okay, I am thinking of Rogue Nation. I know I'm thinking of Rogue Nation because I know I like Rogue Nation. But I will say the fight scene in the bathroom with Cavill at the
That's in
club.
Fallout.
Okay, yes, still a fantastic fight scene. That is great. That, I know it's not in Rogue Nation, which I kind of thought it was for some reason, but that is a fantastic hand-to-hand fight scene. Probably one of, I'm not gonna say one of the best ones within the last few years. Probably in
Mm.
like modern cinema in Hollywood, I would say it's one of the best ones, because it does take like a sharp decline. But I would say it's a very good fight scene. Henry Cavill does do an amazing job. I would love to see him more with a mustache. Uh, and Tom Cruise being as short as he is, and because most people don't realize he is 5'7", I believe, and this Church of Scientology may have bumped that up. He could be 5'5" or a little shorter, but he is a fantastic action star. He loves to do a lot of his own stunts, and I think it really makes the movies better. I remember watching the opening scene to Rogue Nation, and Ethan Hunt runs out to the plane, holds onto the side because he can't let go of whatever's in the plane. I can't remember. I think it's like missiles or something. But he holds onto the side of the plane, and I remember my dad, my uncle, be like, "Oh, that looks so fake. That looks bad. Like that's stupid. Why would he be hanging on the side of the plane?" And I'm looking at these things. I'm like, he did that. Tom Cruise hung on the side of a plane. Of course, he's strapped in, but I mean, he literally hung from the side of a plane as it took off. That is dedication to your craft. That is passion for the movie that you're making. And I think that's what makes each installment of Mission Impossible absolutely fantastic. Chance, do you have any thoughts on Mission Impossible?
Well, you kind of hit everything I was going to touch on, aside from, Fallout is the best movie, not Rogue Nation. But the first question I have for you about Mission Impossible, it's actually it ties into, Rogue Nation and being your favorite and Fallout being my favorite. When you go back and watch those first movies, it kind of started as, a kind of a spy thriller.
Mhm.
With all these, especially in those first handful of movies, with all the gadgets. In the first movie, you have that iconic scene where he's dangling from
Mhm.
the vent. Then you have that scene where he's scaling the building with those like suction cup things, and they're
That's
using
number 4, I believe. That's
yeah,
Rogue
they're using
Nation.
those. They're using
Or
like that.
sorry, that's Ghost Protocol.
Yeah, they're using the masks, and they're using like the holographic screen to like push in on the
Mhm.
security guards. Like,
That's a cool scene. That's Rogue Nation.
yeah, like I feel like with these newer movies, we're moving away from those spy thriller, spy gadgets, and more to kind of just generic action movies. Do
Mhm.
you think that's just because like you kind of already did all your cool ideas? And why do you think that is? Do you think they're just kind of falling in line with kind of the other blockbusters, or do you think it's more so decline of the franchise as a whole? We're kind of missing out on these ideas.
Well, let me tell you, the fact that our favorites are later in the franchise, I would not say they are inclined on. But I do agree, the earlier movies do have more of that, oh my gosh, how are they going to pull off this impossible task? It has the cool spy stuff, like you're mentioning. And
Mm-hmm.
then as it goes on, I would say it doesn't necessarily move away from spy. I would say it more moves away from the heist aspect and more towards espionage
Mm-hmm.
when and then once you get into Rogue Nation, my favorite, he is taking on the Citadel, which is known for like corruption in government, politics, for all kinds of natural disasters. And so there is kind of a shift in what they're doing, but I don't think that they ever move away from what the purpose of Ethan is. And it's to accomplish impossible missions that the government may not be able to get their hands into. They may not want to get their hands dirty. As far as the last three installments, which would be Rogue Nation, Fallout, and Dead Reckoning. Dead Reckoning, I will say, has completely moved away from the spy. There is almost nothing except for him. There's a little bit of government being involved in it, and of course, they don't want to get their hands dirty. They,
I
you
remember
know,
in Fallout, the only like thing they did is they used like those like shape shifting masks once. And that's the
yeah.
only thing I can remember that like where they use like spy like devices, spyware things.
Well, so I would say the main aspect that kind of like is what you think about when you think of spies is when they're trying to go in and fall out and pretend to be the other guy. First, they try to do the mask, they end up not being able to. So I see your cat. I see Azzy in the
Yeah,
background,
he's having fun.
and I see that's why they're in the bathroom in the first place, because they're trying to impersonate that guy, and they're trying to like make a copy of his face, and they end up not being able to do it. So Tom Cruise has to go in his place and pretend to be the guy. So there's still espionage, getting involved in government affairs, but I will agree they have moved away from what initially sparked interest in the franchise, which is those scenes of him dangling down the scene. Gosh, Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol. He said scaling up a
Mm-hmm.
building and having to wear those masks, all kinds of. It's really cool technology that they try to use and put into the world. But it hasn't declined in quality. What they're doing is still so good that honestly, I don't even think people have really cared that they've moved away from those things. Just because, I know you haven't seen Dead Reckoning, but it is so good. And to try to just to think that after six movies, the quality hasn't gone down at all is insane to me. Uh, and I'll just go ahead and say it. My least favorite right now, Mission Impossible 2. I think Mission Impossible 2 is actually a bad movie. Uh, why that is, I honestly couldn't tell you, but it does have cool aspects, but it's more like it's Tom Cruise making a movie. Like it's almost like he made that movie.
Mm-hmm.
You see him get to rock climb because he loves rock climbing. You get to see him ride a motorcycle because, of course, he likes to do that in every movie. But outside of that, you just kind of get lost in the movie. The villain isn't great, but I will say of all the other movies, I think the villains are fantastic. And I do want to ask you this, since you bring up Fallout as your favorite, who is your favorite villain of the Mission Impossible franchise? And there are only two correct answers.
Mine's probably incorrect then. It is Henry Cavill in Fallout. I think he plays that role really well, and
Terrible
it's a
answer.
twist that you don't really see coming, but when it happens, it's like, oh, it when it happens, it feels obvious, but it's played in a way where you kind of really never saw it coming.
Okay. You've gotten the answer wrong. You were right. You did not answer correctly because there are two answers. I'm trying to. I would say in order from. I was trying to do three, so I give it a top three. Um, sure, I'll give Henry Cavill third best villain. I'll give him three. Number two is Philip Seymour Hoffman in Mission Impossible
You
3.
don't even know
He
his
is
name.
Philip Seymour Hoffman?
That's
You're
not
right. I did have
that's the actor. What's the character's name?
Owen Davian.
Mm.
I did cheat because I can see it down here. I knew his name was Owen. I didn't know it was Owen Davian. But yes, he is a fantastic villain. First off, one, because Mr. Hoffman is a fantastic actor.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace. And he brings that character to life. He is truly menacing in the way that he deals with Ethan, how he deals with other people, and I think he's just great overall in that in that movie. Secondly, I think that okay, wait. First off, what's Henry Cavill's name? If you're so
Hey, I didn't pick it. I picked the Muppets, and I picked Planet of the Apes. I'm not the one who picked Mission Impossible.
okay. Good point. Good point. The number one villain, and I think is the most correct answer, is from Rogue Nation, and it is Solomon Lane. He is played by Sean Harris, and he is a fantastic villain, leader of the Citadel. I kind of think it's not Citadel. I keep saying that over and over. The Syndicate. The Syndicate.
He's
Okay,
in
that's what it's
Fallout,
called.
isn't he? Doesn't he like? Isn't like the movie started
He
with him getting
is.
arrested?
Yeah, I believe he's in three of the movies. I may be stretching that a bit, but I know he is in those two, and that
Mm-hmm.
is how Fallout kind of kicks off. But yes, he is a fantastic villain. I think they're great movies, and honestly, there's only one bad one out of seven, and with a hit or miss rate like that, it earns a spot on one of the best franchises of all times. Because I don't think you can have a franchise over five movies or more, and all of them are good as this. I think Mission Impossible has the best win percentage, whatever you want to call it, win rate. Not bad movie, whatever you want. Average Rotten Tomato score. Rotten Tomato doesn't know anything, but average score of it being a good movie. Mission Impossible is at the top of that list.
Interesting. Interesting. I do have one more question about Mission Impossible.
Okay.
And from the movies I saw, I want to get your opinion on this. Do you think it's a bad thing, or do you think that they're even doing this where they're kind of playing it a little too safe with characters? We've seen the
Mhm.
same kind of cast, not cast. We've seen the same kind of ensemble in many movies now, and again and again. Do you think an unwillingness to kind of the characters are in danger every single movie, and that danger gets ramped up more and more and more. But we don't really see any fallout, pun intended, or we don't really see any aftermath. We haven't really seen any character injuries, character deaths. We haven't really seen anything that tells us that these situations, we should be scared for them. They always come around. They
Yeah.
always come out unscathed in a way, ready for the next movie. Do you think that's something that should change, or do you think that you got something that's working, let's just go to the next one with the same characters, let's keep it moving?
Okay. You have not seen Dead Reckoning, so I am going to. There's a easy answer to this, but I am not going to mention Dead Reckoning. This is going to be spoiler free for Dead
Well, now I
Reckoning.
gotta go watch it because apparently something crazy happens.
Something okay. Oh man, it's so hard to say because there is something crazy that happens, but then they do what you say. They take it right back.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me put it like this: there are stakes in Dead Reckoning, and something happens where it's like you said, it's an event that actually makes the hero of the film sacrifice something, which
Mm-hmm.
is needed, and they don't do that in Hollywood movies now. It's like Fast and Furious. If somebody dies, they'll come back two movies later,
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason, whatever crazy reason. Uh, Example Hans from Fast and Furious, who came back four movies later, but yeah, sorry, I'm trying to do this without spoiling anything for Dead Reckoning, but it is hard to watch. They do stick to kind of a formulaic. They have, of course, your hero. They have the love interest. They have the tech guy who's Benji, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
the other actor who his name is Luther, who's also kind of plays that same tech guy in one of the movies. So now they have two tech guys, which is kind of hard to wrap your mind around. So they had to upgrade their first tech guy into an agent.
Mm-hmm.
So they do go very formulaically, and they do. It is hard in movies nowadays to do two things. One, have real stakes. because they don't want to ruin their franchise. They don't want to take out a main character and leave themselves kind of on one leg, which you're right, they should do and they should move on. But honestly, people don't like that. If you want to give real stakes and, like, say, a main character dies, people won't come back and watch your movie if they know that person won't be in it. So that's sort of the reason why they tiptoe, walk on eggshells around it. And the second reason is it is almost impossible to make a movie series without having the Marvel issue, the end game issue, I think is what they call it now, where you've raised the stakes so high so many times that the next movie, all you can do is try to top it. And then you get to a point like, okay, the world's in danger. Now what? Like, he saved the world so many times over and over. Where are we supposed to go from here? And it's not any different with the new movie. They are having to deal with the same things that all these other movies are doing. And honestly, it's probably what makes the Muppets so good, because they don't have stakes. They don't need to have stakes. They just have pure comedy. And so yeah, I'm sure it's something that Planet of the Apes will do. You said that because of certain elements, they won't have to run into that issue. But it's hard to say. I don't think it'll ruin the franchise. Well, I mean, what do you think about it?
I haven't seen the new movie, so I don't really know what happens. But I think there's a certain point where you have to find the right time to kill off a character. If you do it too early, it doesn't have any impact. If you do it too late, it feels like you overstayed his welcome. I feel like with a lot of the characters, it's time. We know who they are. They've been around for a while. If they were to go out in the next movie, like, it would hurt. It would be emotional. Like, we would feel it. It would be something that we remember. It would be something that, like, takes it to the next level. And it also gives you an opportunity. If this is a franchise you're going to run for a while, it gives you an opportunity to bring in some new blood, kind of make it feel fresh again, introduce some new characters. And I think that's something they need to do, where it's like, let's start kind of cycling people in and out. Let's kill off some old people and bring in some new ones.
Would you ever kill off? Okay, two questions. One, would you ever kill off Ethan Hunt? Tom Cruise? I don't know.
No, I feel like he's very. I mean, like, it's kind of a different scenario because he's not the titular character, but it's very similar to John Wick, I think, where like if you do kill him, it has to be the very last movie. It has to be the conclusion. Like, it's very similar to Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, I don't think you can have Pirates of the Caribbean without Jack Sparrow. You can't have John Wick without John Wick. I don't think you can have Mission Impossible without Ethan Hunt. But I feel like you could do something where, kind of like maybe a Batman Beyond, where maybe he's in the movie, he's mentoring somebody. Like, yeah. I would like to see that, but and maybe at the end of that movie, maybe he sacrifices himself for the new guy. And we see
I
where
don't
that
think
can
Tom
go.
Cruise. I don't think Tom Cruise could be in an action movie and not doing the action. Like, I feel like he
Yeah.
would be incapable of that. He
Mhm.
has like that type of personality where he's like, I want to be doing everything with this movie. So you bring up character, deaths, weather breaths, and this is going to be a hard question. If you need a second, I have one prepared, because this is just a question I thought of. What is the best character death in a movie? Something that, I mean, it was just perfect. It was their time to go, but it also kind of shocked you. You weren't ready for it, but it has to be now. What is something that happened in a movie where you're like, oh my gosh, this character's gone. It had real emotional toll. You didn't see it coming, and yet it's time for them to go. If you need a second, I have one ready.
Yeah, I'm going to need a second on that one because I'm having a lot of different thoughts go through my brain right now, but I'll let you go first.
Probably the first one that came to mind, and the reason it came is because we just talked about it, is Rocky IV. Rocky Balboa is retired. He is out of the game, and a new boxer enters the scene from Russia, Ivan Drago. And of course, he wants to fight the best of the best. He wants to fight Rocky Balboa, but he won't do it. He's retired. He's ready to, hang up the gloves. And then Apollo Creed just he's still hungry. He wants more. He'd rather die in the ring than do anything else with his life. He's not content being retired. And so what he does is he fights Ivan Drago, and Apollo Creed dies during the boxing match, which fuels Rocky Balboa to have the courage to fight Ivan Drago, to beat him in the end. Probably the best Rocky movie It's not my favorite, but it's probably the best Rocky movie out of all 9 of them there is now. And it just has such emotional toll because we've been with Apollo Creed and Rocky Balboa for 4 movies. They fought in the first 2 movies, and then in the third movie, when Rocky lost the eye of the tiger, who helped him get it back? But foe turned adversary, Apollo Creed. We've learned to love him even though we hated him at first. He gets back in the game and he ends up paying the ultimate price, which is what he wanted, but and we knew it was going to happen. We knew he was willing to die in the ring for the sport that he loved, and yet when it happened, we just weren't ready. And yet, it was so essential to the plot. It's what gets Rocky to get back into it, to avenge his friend, and a fantastic movie. And I think, and of course, I had a lot of time to think of it because I just thought of this question, but I think one of the best character deaths in all of cinema.
I had a lot of different ones kind of racked through my brain, but the one that, and I think some people are going to disagree with me on this one, because when you look past it, it's so obvious that he wasn't gone forever. I mean, when I say it, you're gonna be like, "Oh, that's a stupid pick." But for like the when I walked out of the theater, I was in shambles because I like I somewhere deep down I knew like this isn't it. He's coming back, but on the surface level, I was crushed. But Spider-Man in Infinity War, when
Oh,
he disintegrated, man,
no,
I
I
was
don't
wrecked.
accept
And as
it. I
soon as
don't
like a
accept
couple
it.
days passed, and I was like, what am I doing? Like he's gonna come back. He has to come back. But when it first happened, and you kind of, you know, you see him talking to Iron Man, to Robert Downey Jr. You know, he doesn't want to go. Not like this. And like when he was saying that, it hurt me. It hit me home because Spider Man is one of my favorite superheroes of all time. And seeing him in that state, kind of seeing Tom Holland played it perfectly, seeing a kid not want to die, seeing a kid slowly turn to ash, like it hurt me. So I think
I
that's
don't
that's one of
accept
the
this
best
answer.
ones. And
I don't
yeah, he
accept
came
this
back in
answer.
Endgame, but still, like I
And we
think it was
knew
done
he would
really
come
well.
back. I need a different answer. I need one that has a final death, one that is just so heart wrenching. It doesn't have to be heart wrenching, but one that I just think there are so many important deaths, and I don't think Spider Man in Infinity Game
Hey,
because it
I think
has
it's a good answer.
no. Do you know why it's not a good answer? Because you
If we were
always
on
talk about
Jeopardy right now, Steve Harvey would say, "Hey, it's a good answer. Let's see what's on the board," and it'd be number one. I'm telling you that
if
right now.
you look at your complaints of movies, one of them is that they have no real stakes,
And
so it can't
it
create
didn't have
any
stakes. And look,
emotional. No,
I just said like
no.
2 or 3 days later, I was like, that was stupid. He comes back. But when it first happened, man, it got me good. It got
I
me
asked you
good.
for the best death of all time, and you picked one that you even disagree with as the best
Okay.
one.
Look, it got me at the time.
Okay, I have another one. I have another
Go
one
ahead.
to
I'll think of
maybe
a
you can
better one.
rebound. Yeah, see if you can
Apparently I
rebound and do
failed.
another one. Oh, you did. I think of Django Unchained. I think of when Christopher Waltz in the
Yeah.
end dies to the Candyman, which is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, set up the movie. Leo is not the greatest guy in the world. He's actually kind of an awful human being. He fights. He uses his slaves to fight, and uh, Django and I can't remember what his name is in the movie, but Christopher Waltz go to Candyland, which is the name of his estate, in order to buy a slave. But really, what they're after is so that Django can be reunited with his wife. And anyways, in the movie, at the end, Christopher Waltz is kind of over Leo, and he takes the opportunity that he is given, spoiler, to kill Leonardo DiCaprio, and this ends up getting Christopher Waltz killed, which very sad in the movie because as Django was a slave in every sense at the beginning of the movie, he was abused, didn't really know his place in the world, like what he was doing, because I mean he really couldn't with the time period. And Christopher Waltz helped him find that, help him find something that he liked to do, and I mean it is a fantastic movie, and it's Christopher Wallace dying. Although I will say I don't think it carried any emotional toll for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would consider it one of the best, but it is one that I think about where it kind of shocked me when it happened. I was not prepared for it, but Quentin Tarantino does a good job of kind of keeping you on your toes for that sort of thing.
That's a good one. It's been a very long time since I've seen this movie, so I could be wrong here, or I could be wrong in kind of the retelling. But the Iron Giant, I remember hitting me pretty hard
Oh my
when
gosh, I have not seen the Iron Giant.
the
I
Iron
didn't think.
Giant is fantastic, and it was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, and I need to rewatch it. But the Iron Giant was so good, and when he died, it hit me.
Well, I know why everybody cries. I've heard that everybody cries when they watch it, but I have not seen it yet. I watched that episode Ted Lasso where they all watch it
Hmm.
and like they all love the robot, and Jason Sudeikis is like, man, they're not going to be ready when it hits him at the end. So I have not seen that one. Another one to keep. I'm kind of on a roll right now. Top Gun, also with Tom Cruise. When Goose dies,
Goose, yeah,
yes, I love Goose. Just
that's a
setting
good
him up.
one.
Really, he's not even have that. He
Yeah,
doesn't
he's
have
not
that
in
many
it that
scenes where like
much.
builds him up. But I mean,
Hmm.
the very few scenes that you see him, you see him with his wife, and his wife, "Take me to bed or lose me forever," and then he's saying "Great Balls of Fire." I mean, like you get like you love Goose, even though you barely
Hmm.
know the guy. And then when he dies, all you're like, "It's Goose." And so, although I don't think Top Gun holds up now, which is I know debatable among some people, I don't think it holds up nowadays. I do think that that death was one that people were like kind of emotionally torn up by, even though they shouldn't have been because he barely had any screen time.
I think I'm gonna say one. I'm gonna say one that's kind of there, and then my next one I think is ultimately the greatest character death. Um,
So you have two right now that you're doing.
I have two,
Okay.
and actually I just lost the first one. So we're gonna move right on to the second one. Actually, we're just gonna skip right on by it. But Wolverine in Logan is the
Oh, that's a
greatest
good
character
one.
death of
That's
all
a good
time.
one. I'll accept this
That one
one.
is objectively the best character death.
That okay, I'll give you that one. That one is a great one. That one is one that it was an end to the franchise. It was time.
Hmm.
I don't think that. I mean, I think everyone knew it was coming just because of the movie, but I will say that is a fantastic one. One that I think is a hilarious one that probably doesn't go up on greatest of all time is Wilson in Castaway.
Hmm.
Have you seen Castaway?
Yeah.
That scene. First off, Tom Hanks is amazing in that. He shows so much love to this volleyball. And at the end, we don't know why. We're like, not Wilson, not the volleyball. And everybody's so upset and just torn up by it. I think that is a great one. I'm kind of cheating because I'm looking at a list of some of.
I just remembered the other one I was gonna say, and I can't even remember her name, so I really shouldn't count. But it stuck with me ever since I saw the movie, and it's the girl from Bridge to Terabithia. Have you seen
Oh
that
yes,
movie?
yes, 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 yes.
That
Okay,
ruined me.
okay, that one I will say was unexpected. I think
Hmm.
that is one that nobody knows is coming, and when it happens, it's like, holy cow! Like,
Yeah, it just got serious.
yeah, yeah, that one because I mean, that's another one of those like children's movies that we
Hmm.
remember, but like if you actually go back and look at it, you're like, that's kind of not a children's movie. That's kind of like
Yeah.
a really sad movie. Um, Mufasa, the Lion King. That one's kind of easy answer. Oh, I had one, or I just saw one. Dobby from Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
That's actually a terribly sad one. Even honestly, I hate Dobby. I think Dobby is. I do not like him
Yeah,
as a
I didn't
character.
care much for his death.
He kind of creeped me out,
I kind of
but
celebrated a little bit. I said, finally, we don't have to look at that stupid elf anymore.
oh, I have a good one, and this may set up a topic that we do in a future episode because I've been wanting to do this one, but uh I can't remember his name, and right now I'm blanking on the actor's name. The guy from the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Mm,
He dies in the very end,
yeah, that's a good
and
one. This
I
one,
cannot remember his name.
I guess technically it's a character, but it's not a human character. But it's still like I feel like this one hit me even more because it's not a human. But the
Hmm.
dog from I Am Legend. That one, that one was
Uh,
rough, man.
if we're
That one hit me down here.
if we're doing animals, I'd say Marley and Me. You know, if we're throwing animals in there,
I Am Legend is
but
above it, man. I Am Legend is above it just because of how like brutal it was.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like my favorite like animal movies. I don't even know if I have one that's like really. It'd probably be an animated movie. It probably wouldn't be a live action one, but I can't think of any at the moment. But anyways, we have gone down a rabbit hole. We have finished up our talk on franchise. Unless there's anything chance you would like to add to it, if
I'm
you
all
would like
done.
to.
I'm just gonna solidify the points made earlier. Muppets is the greatest movie franchise of all time, and Wolverine and Logan is the greatest character death of any movie.
Yes, we did get off subject there a little. There are some great movie deaths, and some of them don't occur in our favorite franchises. Oh, we should have asked if there were any in our favorite franchises. Can you think of any? There's not
Um,
one in Mission
there's a
Impossible.
couple in Planet of the Apes,
Yeah, I haven't seen that
but
one.
none that are like super impactful. I don't think. Maybe
I,
a couple here and there.
I really don't think there would be any in the
Koba was
Muppets.
a I mean Koba was a villain, so you're not supposed to feel bad for him. But Koba was such a good character. It was a shame to see him go. There
Yeah,
weren't
I'm sure
any.
that
I can't
none in the
remember any
Muppets.
major character deaths in the Muppets. Let me
Yeah,
know in the comments if I'm wrong.
yeah. Let us know in the comments if you
I
remember
can't
any
remember if
deaths in
Sam
the
the
Muppets.
Eagle died or not in the Muppets Christmas Carol.
Maniacal laugh. The only one I can think of, and it's really not a death in Pirates of the Caribbean, is when Orlando Bloom is takes the spot of his dad
Hmm.
in as Bootstrap Bill on the Flying Dutchman, even though he's still alive, and they fix it in the fifth one, which is all kind of garbage. But there are no really kind of outstanding character deaths in that one that I can think of.
Hmm.
If anyone, I think Barbosa would have been the perfect one to die, but he
Yeah,
did not.
Barbosa would have been
But
good.
anyways, we have finished up our topics. We've gone through our franchise. If there are any franchises that you love, feel free to let us know. Maybe we'll talk about them someday, and maybe not. Maybe we'll talk about more random movies like The Muppets and Surfs Up. But anyways, that has been Derek with a Chance of Podcast. Again, I'm Derek, and this is Big Ear Billy, and we
Hmm.
will see y'all next time.
Have fun. Go watch the movies.